සුවඳ තවත් දෙකු කලක් රැඳෙන්න ඩබල් පර්ෆියුම් ලුක් සමගින් එන නව සන්ලයිට් රෝස්.
Tonight, double trouble. Delta variant of COVID-19 wreaking havoc in India, found from the community in Sri Lanka.
We have detected the Delta variant from the Derana area.
Health authorities meanwhile renew calls for wearing of face masks, even after vaccination.
Whatever the vaccination that we give will not 100% protect us from getting the infection. It will not 100% prevent the transmission of disease.
Going, gone. MV Express Pearl now fully underwater.
It is not safe to remove the wreck as well during this monsoon season.
Rivaling the BRI, the opposition leader welcomes the chance to become a part of the G7's infrastructure plans.
Grant programs, loan programs that may be available from these initiatives could be useful and utilized in Sri Lankan developmental activities.
An alternative, a left-field solution put forth for the fuel pricing mechanism.
But as a nation, what we should do is, we should go for a hedging.
All that and much more coming up on First at 9. This Thursday, the 17th of June, 2021.
ඒ කියන්නේ ලයිෆ් බෝයි අවස්ථා 10කදී ලෙඩ රෝග 10කට හේතු වන වෛරස් ඇතුළු විෂ බීජවලට එරෙහිව සටන් කරනවා කියලා.
From AdaDerana, this is AdaDerana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening and welcome to First at 9. I'm Dhammik Naik. Now, the more virulent and deadly strain of COVID-19 known as the Delta variant, previously identified as the Indian variant, is now found from the community in Sri Lanka. Director of Allergy, Immunology and Cell Biology Unit at Sri Jayawardhanapura University, Dr. Chandima Jeevandara, said today that 5 out of 9 random samples have returned confirming the Delta variant. It is now imperative more than ever to be fully vaccinated, which means getting both doses of the vaccine against the virus.
Sri Lankan health authorities confirmed today that the more virulent and deadly strand of COVID-19, the Delta variant, previously identified as the Indian variant in Sri Lankan community. The Delta variant has been the reason Sri Lanka's neighbour India experienced a surge in infections and deaths to the extent the country's health system could not tend to the daily infections. Director of the Allergy, Immunology and Cell Biology Unit at Sri Jayawardhanapura University, Dr. Chandima Jeevandara, said that 5 out of the 9 samples obtained from the area of Dematgoda had the Delta variant.
We have detected the Delta variant, which is commonly found in and first detected in India. We observed that there is a change of the pattern of the patients we saw over the past 1 week, especially from the samples received from Colombo. Because of that, we immediately started our genetic sequencing, the latest run, and from that we have detected the Delta variant from the Dematgoda area. The symptom profile is a bit different to the ones we observed with the original SARS-CoV-2 virus. For example, if I say the previous symptoms were fever, cough and loss of taste and smell were the cardinal symptoms of COVID-19 illness, but associated with Delta variant, they have increasingly found that sore throat and runny nose are commonly found apart from fever in patients who has Delta variant. It carries a specific mutation which facilitates a strong attachment with the human cells, so that's why it is considered a virus with increased transmissibility. Because of the L452R mutation, it is said to be more transmissible compared to the other variants.
Dr. Jeevandara also said that a person's immune system will only stand a fighting chance against the virus if they receive both vaccine doses.
The main problem with Delta variant is it is reported to evade the single dose vaccination. For example, for vaccines which needed 2 doses, you will get the complete protection only after taking both doses. So it's very, very important, especially the vaccines Pfizer and AstraZeneca. You need both doses to get the complete protection against Delta variant. So with single dose, the protection is about 33%. With both doses only, it increases up to 60% in case of AstraZeneca vaccine, and it's about 88% in case of Pfizer vaccines.
In this backdrop, Deputy Director General of Education and Research at the Ministry of Health explained that 2 types of surveillance systems are currently in place to ensure that all patients with symptoms of influenza and all those with acute respiratory issues are tested for COVID-19. He explained that this would be done in a bid to ensure that no COVID-19 patients slip under the radar of the health authorities.
And also we need to emphasize that we have 2 other surveillance systems that were going on, that is ILI, influenza-like illness surveillance, where all people who are coming to hospitals with respiratory symptoms and influenza-like illnesses will be subjected to test for COVID-19. In addition to that, all persons who will be coming to hospitals with severe acute respiratory infections like pneumonia-like infections or any other breathing difficulties, we call it SARI, those patients also will be subject to COVID-19 testing so that we can find out any missed person not detected during the routine activities so that we can minimize the chances of missing any patients. That will be continued, and if the numbers of new cases going down, more and more tests could be done as random testing in future depending on the prevalence and reporting of new cases.
He also urged the people to continue to adhere to the health and safety guidelines and not do away with things like wearing face masks simply because they are vaccinated.
We need to understand that whatever the vaccination that we give will not 100% protect us from getting the infection, and also it will not 100% prevent the transmission of disease from one person to the other, and therefore we need to make sure that all required health guidelines are adhered to. In addition to that, we need to keep in our mind that up to now, with all the difficulties, we have been able to cover only a small proportion of around 10% of the population with first dose vaccine and less proportion of people with second dose, and therefore at this moment all citizens of Sri Lanka need to adhere to the stipulated health guidelines until the need for such adherence is relaxed or released or stopped after considering the epidemiological situation and other factors.
As for today, 1,835 fresh COVID-19 cases have been confirmed so far in the island, with 1,289 patients also being given the all clear to leave their treatment centres. Sri Lanka's total COVID recoveries jumped to 195,434. That puts the number of active cases in the country at 36,554.
කාලගුණය කොහොමුණත් රයිනෝ නං වහලට සේෆ් තමයි මුළු ගෙදරම.
The police, meanwhile, say that moving about in defiance of travel restrictions in place will only worsen the country's pandemic situation. Meanwhile, the National Operations Centre for the Prevention of COVID-19 Outbreak today moved to disapprove the online liquor sales via supermarkets, which received provisional approval from the Ministry of Finance yesterday.
Sri Lanka is recording a caseload in the excess of 2,000 on a daily basis, raising questions over the effectiveness of the strategies used to control the spread of the novel coronavirus. The government, while imposing travel restrictions to curb the contagious virus, urged the public to practice discipline in order for the country to emerge successfully in their battle against COVID-19. Despite warnings of the severity of the pandemic situation locally and internationally, people continue to act irresponsibly, disregarding the stipulated health protocols.
වැඩිම පිරිසක් අත්අඩංගුවට ගෙන තිබෙන්නේ කුලියාපිටිය මහනුවර සහ මාතලේ ප්‍රදේශවලින්. සංචාරණ සීමා ක්‍රියාත්මක වන දිනයක මහා මාර්ගයේ පුද්ගලයන් 1561ක් අත්අඩංගුවට ගැනීම විශාල ප්‍රමාණයක්. ඒ වගේම මේ ප්‍රමාණය පොලිසියට අත්අඩංගුවට ගැනීමට හැකි වූ ප්‍රමාණය. නමුත් අපගේ විශ්වාසය හැටියට සංචාරණ සීමා උල්ලංඝනය කළ ප්‍රමාණය මීට 100 ගුණයකටත් වඩා වැඩි වෙනවා.
Meanwhile, the National Operations Centre for the Prevention of COVID-19 Outbreak today disapproved the online liquor purchases via supermarkets. The move comes at the heels of opposition expressed by the Sri Lanka Medical Association. The Ministry of Finance yesterday gave their go-ahead for the general public to purchase liquor online through supermarkets, but vested the National Operations Centre with the authority to make the final decision. Economic centres across the country, meanwhile, were reopened for wholesale trade today after being closed due to travel restrictions. Wholesale prices of vegetables was on the high side given the drop in demand in comparison to the supply. According to the increased wholesale prices of vegetables at the Manning Market in Paliagoda, a kilo of leeks traded at 180 rupees, carrots and cabbage at 120, while a kilogram of beans was sold at 150 rupees. In addition, a kilo of eggplant was priced between 150 to 180 rupees and tomatoes were sold at 120 rupees while capsicum was sold at 280 rupees. However, vegetable prices are increased further by the mobile vendors when being sold to the general public. Accordingly, a kilo of carrots was sold at 160 following a hike of 40 rupees while a kilo of eggplant was sold at 200 rupees. Raw chilies was sold at 300 rupees while lime was sold at 180 rupees per kilo. Mobile vendors expressed displeasure over the increased prices.
මාකට් එකේ බිස්නස් කරන අය තමයි මේකේ කන්නේ උපරිම. ගෝවියගෙන් රුපියල් 35ට 40ට හරගෙන ඉවර වෙලා. මෙයාලා මාළු මිරිස් 320යි, බෝංචි 220යි, පම්පඩු 220යි. කොහමද සාමාන්‍ය මිනිස්සු කන්නේ? ටීවී එකේ කියන මිනවල් නෑ. මෙයාවම ගන්න ඩීසල් පෙට්‍රල් වැඩි වෙලා තියෙනවා. කොහමද ඔය ගානට අඩු ගානට දෙන්නේ කියලා කියන්නකෝ.
In the meantime, the dedicated economic centre in Dambulla also saw stocks of vegetables coming in bulks as well as a large number of buyers. With the reopening of the economic centres today, traders say vegetable prices have risen compared to the previous days. However, the mobile vendors say that the price increase have put them in a difficult position in retailing.
මිල වැඩි නිසා අඩු ගන්නේ නෑ. මිල වැඩි ඉන්නේ හේතුව නම් මම දකින්නේ මේ කිසිම ක්‍රමවත්භාවයක් නෑ මේ ආර්ථික මධ්‍යස්ථානයේ.
ඔබේ හැඟීම් සහ සිතුවිලි හිර කර තබා ගන්න එපා. අමතන්න 1926 ජාතික මානසික සෞඛ්‍ය උපකාර සේවාව.
Now, police media spokesperson DIG Ajit Rohan has said today that investigations are launched into the theft of 30 doses of Sinopharm COVID-19 vaccine, which are valued at around 90,000 rupees. He stated that the vaccine vials had been stolen by a driver and a member of the minor staff attached to the Habaradua MOH office.
වැඩිම පිරිසක් අත්අඩංගුවට ගෙන තිබෙන්නේ කුලියාපිටිය මහනුවර සහ මාතලේ ප්‍රදේශවලින් සංචාරණ සීමා ක්‍රියාත්මක වන දිනයක මහා මාර්ගයේ පුද්ගලයන් 1561ක් අත්අඩංගුවට ගැනීම විශාල ප්‍රමාණයක්. ඒ වගේම මේ ප්‍රමාණය පොලිසියට අත්අඩංගුවට ගැනීමට හැකි වූ ප්‍රමාණය. නමුත් අපගේ විශ්වාසය හැටියට සංචාරණ සීමා උල්ලංඝනය කළ ප්‍රමාණය මීට 100 ගුණයකටත් වඩා වැඩි වෙනවා.
Now then, the fire-ravaged cargo ship MV Express Pearl is now sitting at the bottom of the ocean. The vessel's operator says that the wreck removal can only begin after the southwest monsoon subsides. The Marine Environmental Protection Authority too agrees with the ship operator in that regard. The vessel is now sitting at a depth of 22 metres.
Operator of the container ship Express Pearl confirmed that the charged ship, which was partially submerged, has completely sunk, sitting at a depth of 22 metres on seabed. The operator says that due to the exposed nature of the anchorage to the prevailing southwest monsoon, it is likely that the wreck removal can only start after the subsiding of the monsoon. With that, a caretaker salvo is on site on 24-hour watch to deal with any development with regard to the vessel.
In this rough sea season, we cannot do anything. During this rough season, collecting samples, going to the area also was a challenge. At this time, they have calculated and they have done all the assessment to see whether they can do the wreck removal at this stage, and they have come up with this conclusion that during this monsoon season, they will not be able to do that. So until such time, owners of the vessel has appointed a caretaker. A caretaker company has taken over and they will look after the entire vessel. If there's any kind of oil spill, the pollution part of it, and the entire incident and the entire area will be looked after by this caretaker company until the owner appointed wreck removal company. And it is not safe to remove the wreck as well during this monsoon season.
Meanwhile, in more distressing scenes along the coastline, dead turtles and sea creatures continue to wash up, all victims of the MV Express Pearl fire. Nearly 50 carcasses of these sea creatures who fall into the endangered category washed ashore.
එතකොට මේ සියලුම දේවල් නිසා අපේ හානි වෙච්ච මුහුදු මතුපිට ප්‍රමාණය අපිට ගණනය කරන්න පුළුවන්. පරිසර පද්ධති විශාල සංඛ්‍යාවක් තියෙනවා සාගරය තුල. මාළුන්ට බිත්තර දාන්න තියෙන තැන් අහිමි වෙන්න පුළුවන්. ඒතකොට ඒ නිසා අපේ අනාගත මත්ස්‍ය සම්පත අහිමි වෙන්න පුළුවන්. ඒ වගේම තමයි මේ මයික්‍රෝ ප්ලාස්ටික් සම්පූර්ණ අපේ වෙරළ කලාපයේම ආක්‍රමණය කළා. එතකොට ඒ නිසා මේක මිනිස්යාට නැවතෙන්න පුළුවන් මයික්‍රෝ ප්ලාස්ටික් පොලියුෂන් විදියට. අතුලත් වෙන මේ රසායන ද්‍රව්‍ය අපි කියන මේ ගුණණය වීමක් සිද්ධ වෙනවා. ඒ කියන්නේ පරිසර පද්ධතිය තුල මේක එකතු වීමක් නිසා නැවත වාරයක් මිනිසාට හානියක් වෙන්න පුළුවන්.
We will see you on the other side of this break. Stay with us.
ගෙදරකට තේ හදනවා කියන්නේ වෙනම වැඩක්. මෙලිබන් තේ ගෙදර පදමට තේ.
Welcome back. You're watching First at 9. Now, Chairman and Managing Director of the Ceylon Petroleum Storage Terminals Limited, Mohammed Uwais Mohammed, believes that Sri Lanka should take another look at hedging as part of the island's fuel pricing mechanism. His views came during a discussion with Indiva Yamuwatha on our current affairs program at Hyde Park on AdaDerana 24 today, at the heels of the government's fuel price hike.
Is it a formula that you propose, or do you propose that the government manage the bulk of the burden of the fuel price hike?
Based on the reading that we have studied, fuel price will vary day by day, as you know. There was a time where barrel went to $124. During that time, government bear the biggest portion, and people, the government having a tax on top of this total cost. But tax portion came down. But in this present situation also, they have reduced the tax also, and then beyond certain level they have increased the price. But as a nation, what we should do is we should go for a hedging. When you say word hedging, our officials don't want to talk about it just because of one mistake that we made. People make mistake, but you have to learn and come up with a strategy to benefit the nation and the people of the country. We should go for hedging. During, for example, if you take 2020 April, price went down to $20 per barrel. Today $75, $76. During that time, if you would have gone for hedging with the, they call it cap and the floor or the cap and the collar. Last time we have only gone with the cap. So when price went down, we lost. Because of that reason, we don't want to take any risk. We should, as a country, as a nation, as a government, we need to encourage people to take calculated risk. When it was $25, if you would have gone for if it is up to 30 and 75, we would have had some benefit, you see. So this is what our country has to look for: new ways, new means, take challenges, take risk, calculated risk. The people would have been benefited. Unfortunately, once we took a decision, it went wrong. Since then, no one want to talk about it, because even if we build 3 months of storage, for example, during April price went down to 20. We maximum can hold only 3 months of storage. But if you go hedging, you can go for as long as you want to go for. This is not one decision. This is a culmination of decisions that we need to sit together and decide as a nation. Whichever government come, the people will not
to sit together and make decisions. I think authorities, those in charge, have to come together. Now you have an opinion here, but in sharing these with the decision makers, how do you all work through these? Because at the end of the day, these decisions have to be taken at the top. Can you all sit together in one table and talk, or is this the controversy we see in the media, the tug of war, is that what we see outside within too?
No, not really. Actually, I think anything is possible when we are in crisis. This is what the beauty of our nation. When we were in war, we were together. When during the tsunami, we were together. During first pandemic, we were together. The moment we divide, people will suffer. Our motherland will suffer. This is what I'm saying, we have to be together to fight against anything is possible.
But your views are heard?
Yes. Always my views are heard. I always share my views. Before I share, I make sure that I have done thorough study.
Opposition leader Sajith Premadasa welcomes the Build Back Better World initiative by the G7 countries, adding that Sri Lanka should consider the chance of benefiting from the program. The G7 member countries have agreed on an infrastructural proposal of Build Back Better World as an alternative to China's Belt and Road initiative. When questioned about China's alleged debt trap while speaking to a foreign media outlet, the opposition leader affirmed that Sri Lanka is not keen on being subjugated by other nations, highlighting that the island values its relationship with China as much as it does with the ties with India.
G7 countries have announced their own infrastructure plan now in response to China's Belt and Road initiative. Do you think Sri Lanka should consider joining an effort like this?
If obtaining such assistance improves Sri Lanka's macroeconomic indicators such as employment levels, propelling the growth rates, ensuring that budgets are balanced, and if it enables a trade surplus, certainly as a country we would be very attracted to such positive proposals which promote Sri Lanka's prosperity and development.
So you're saying Sri Lanka should consider joining it?
Within the present context, where Sri Lanka is suffering economically, I think the infusion of capital, investment, grant programs, loan programs that may be available from these initiatives could be useful and utilized in Sri Lankan developmental activities, which would lead to a higher standard of living and higher economic growth rates for the people of our country.
The opposition leader was also questioned whether Sri Lanka is heading towards bankruptcy.
I would not like to think so, but when one examines the current trends and the economic trajectory, life does not look too rosy. We need to have more pragmatic, practical approach to economic management, and I hope the relevant authorities have a change of course and try to think anew.
Referring to the signing of the Colombo Port City project, questions were also raised whether Sri Lanka is plunging towards China's debt trap.
Well, Sri Lanka is a proud nation state. And as Sri Lankans, we would never ever be keen on being subjugated to any other state or non-state actor. We sacredly protect our country's political independence, and we as a country want to stand up our own feet. We have the self-discipline, capability, and we have the strength to stand up on our own feet. There is absolutely no necessity for any administration to go around the world with a begging bowl. One thing I want to make clear, the psyche and the thinking of Sri Lankan people is that we don't want foreign interference from wherever it may be. So just as much as we value our relationship with India, we also value our relationship with China and the rest of the world. And we would like to have always a productive relationship which is of mutual benefit.
We will see you on the other side of this break. Bear with us. Welcome back. This is First at 9. Now, a minor tremor has been experienced by the residents in the area of Kumarigama near the Victoria Dam last evening. According to the Geological Survey and Mines Bureau, the tremor had measured 1.94 on the Richter scale. Its chairman, Anura Walpola, stated that the public should not have any undue fears as there is no threat from this minor tremor. He cited the reason for the tremor as the dolomite deposit that is located under the area, hinting that the tremor could very well be the result of water accumulating in air holes. He reassured that the GSMB is looking into the matter. Now, the Environment Ministry has added several single-use plastic and polythene products to the list of banned plastics and polythenes which are harmful to the environment and even to human health. Following a discussion held at the Ministry of Environment chaired by Minister Mahinda Amaraweera yesterday, the decision has been made to add plastic bottles less than 400 millilitres, plastic cups, all lunch wrapping sheets and artificial turf to the plastic and polythene byproducts list, with the cabinet paper to be submitted next week. Use and throw straws and stirrers, spoons, forks, knives including yogurt spoons, shopping bags, grocery bags of less than 10 into 5 into 17 inches made of plastic or polythene, plastic string hopper trays, packing of incense sticks and wicks using polythene material, plastic garlands and plastic cups will be added to the list. Earlier, it was decided to ban lunch wrapping sheets as well. But the decision was not implemented for various reasons, and Minister Amaraweera said that the ban will be re-implemented. Now, taking a look at the Colombo Bourse, Sri Lankan stocks closed 0.23% higher today, with the all-share price index gaining 17.81 points to close at 7,659. The S&P SL20 index of more liquid stocks, meanwhile, gained a 0.38% to close at 3,084.22. The market turnover was 3.9 billion rupees, with 77 stocks gaining and 88 falling. Now, here's Dimantha Matthew with a brief report on today's market performance.
The market retained in the green territory for the third consecutive day as the ASPI moved up by around 18 points today to end at 7,659 points. So we are seeing the market now entering a new terrain, reaching a 9-week high. So this is something because of the investor confidence that is rebuilding after it being lost due to the spike in COVID-19 situation. So with the travel restrictions, now we are seeing some sort of control being placed on the number of positive patients, and with it we are seeing the market or the investors having higher level of confidence levels. So if you take turnover today, it's almost 4 billion rupees, and we saw a number of transactions also onto the high side, around 20,000 transactions. So with that, we are seeing that the retail activity is continuously on a high note now for over 2 weeks now. So with it, today's turnover spiked mainly because of one particular trade which was in Windforce. 13 crossings in Windforce took place with 103 million shares changing hands at 18 rupees and 20 cents.
In the meantime, the rupee continues to be at 202.88 cents against the US dollar after closing at the same level yesterday. Let's now take a look at how the Sri Lankan rupee traded against other major currencies during the day. And that's it from all of us here at First at 9. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.